will give the explanation of these five stanzas. Thank you.
ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात् Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Recitation of holy mantras always purifies our heart and mind and makes us fit for reciting or talking about any spiritual matter. So, always before we start talking about spiritual matter, we must recite some holy mantra like Gayatri mantra or Arunachala Shiva mantra. Now I am going to give one good video on Arunachala Pancharatnam, that is five gems on Arunachala. So of the five hymns to Arunachala composed by Bhagwan Ramana, the present one was originally written in Sanskrit. Kavya Kantha Ganapati Shastri, the great Sanskrit scholar and devotee, requested Bhagwan one day in 1917 to compose a poem in Sanskrit. Bhagwan replied with a smile that he knew little Sanskrit and less prosody relating to that language, but the Kavya Kantha was not willing to leave the matter there. He explained to Bhagwan the technique of one of the Sanskrit meters called Arya and repeated his request. When he saw Bhagwan again in the evening, the poem was ready in exquisite Sanskrit, expressing in five short verses addressed to Arunachala the entire teaching of Vedanta. This hymen consists of five gems-like verses on Arunachala, hence the name Arunachala Pancharatnam. In the first two verses, the nature of reality is set forth from two levels, Saurupa, essential, and Tatastha, per accident. In the remaining three verses, the paths to perfection are sketched in outline. Thus, in this short poem, Bhagwan has given us in sutra form the quintessence of Vedanta as also the distinctive points of emphasis that are to be found in his teachings. This poem has been rendered by Bhagwan himself into Tamil Venba for the benefit of Tamil knowing aspirants. The rendering was done in 1922 in response to a request from a devotee who wanted to add this to four other poems in Tamil on Arunachala written by Bhagwan and published the collection under the title Arun Arunachala Stuti Panchakam. In the first two verses of the Arunachala Pancharatnam, as we have said, the nature of reality is indicated. The Upanishads describe the nature of reality in two ways. In itself, reality is existence, consciousness, bliss, Satya Chit Ananda. Its qualification per accidens is the causality of the world. The former definition is the Sarupa Lakshana of Brahma. The latter is the Tatastha Lakshana. The real in itself is attributeless, nirguna, and unconditioned, nirupadhika. On account of Maya, it appears as the cause of the world. In the first verse, Bhagwan refers to Arunachala as the Supreme Self, Paramatma, that is unconditioned and unqualified existence, consciousness, bliss. It is supernal light, it is the ocean of bliss. In it there is no plurality, there is no world, it is Nispra, Nisprapancha. In the second verse, Arunachala is described as the world ground, as God who is the source and the goal of the universe. Creation, creation, however, is not real. It is an illusory appearance. This is the implication of the picture analogy. As Bhagwan himself explained the meaning once to a devotee, the universe is like a painting on a screen, the screen being the red hill, Arunachala. That which rises and sinks is made up of what it rises from. The finality of the universe is the God Arunachala. Thus, the world is a transfiguration, Vivarta of Arunachala. Brahma. It has no reality in itself. For the purpose of meditation on Arunachala, a location is assigned in the body. The location is the heart, not the physical heart, which is on the left side of the chest, but the spiritual heart, which is in the right side. Arunachala itself may be referred to as the heart, since it is the center of all things. In the third verse, Bhagwan teaches the path of self-inquiry. This is the same as Jnana Marga, the path of knowledge. According to Advaita Vedanta, Jnana is the direct means to moksha. Moksha is not what is to be newly accomplished, it is the eternal nature of the self. On account of nescience, avidya, it remains unrecognized. What will make us recognize it? Is the true knowledge of the self. Bhagwan's formulation of the Jnana Marga is well known. It takes the form of the inquiry, who am I? Although all can take to this path for sure and quick success, one must possess a pure and one-pointed mind. The aids that render the mind fit to pursue the path of inquiry are meditation, dhyana, devotion, bhakti, and action, karma. In the fourth and the fifth verses, Bhagwan mentions these disciplines. Selfless service, karma yoga, removes all impurities from the mind. Devotion to God, bhakti yoga, and meditation, dhyana yoga, impart on the mind one pointedness. When the pure mind turns within and inquires into its source, it merges in that source which is the Supreme Self, Arunachala. This is the final goal of all spiritual discipline, the plenary experience which is existence, consciousness, bliss, satya, chit, ananda. First verse, ocean of nectar full of grace, swallowing up the entire universe by successive waves of light. O Arunachala, the Supreme Self, dawn on me so that the heart lotus may blossom. This is the first verse in Bhagwan Sri Ramana's Arunachala Pancharatnam. Here the prayer is for the blossoming of the heart lotus. The heart is compared to the lotus because it is what is fit to be offered to the Lord. The blossoming of the heart can be effected only when the Lord's grace descends on it, even as the lotus opens at dawn when the sun rises. The Lord is the Son of sons, and it is by His grace that the heart of the individual soul should attain maturity and purity. The Lord is Arunachala, the changeless and constant light. He is the Supreme Self. He is the ocean of grace and immortality. It is He that destroys all that is evil and imperfect. Note on the Sanskrit transliteration of each four-lined verse is followed by the Tamil eh, transliterated verse. Verse number 2. In thee, O Arunachala, all having come into being and having stayed for a while, attain a resolution. This is wonderful, or this is like a picture. In the heart thou dancest as I as the self. O Lord, they call thee by the name heart. Arunachala is the supreme God. God is the soul and whole cause of world. A text of the Taittiriya Upanishad indicates the nature of Brahma by defining it as that whence all beings come into existence, wherein they reside and whereunto they return. Brahma is the ground of the universe, as the cause of the universe. It is called God, but no theory of creation can be satisfactory. How from the one the many appear is a mystery. Hence it is said that God is both the material and the efficient cause of the world, the origin, middle, and end of the world are all within God. So Bhagwan Sri Ramana says that in Arunachala all these appear. That this should be so indeed is a wonder. It is true that explanations with the help of analogies, such as the spider weaving the web out of its own bowels, have been offered, but no such explanation is intended to be finally valid. The teaching about the world and its creation is designed only as a prelude to the realization of the non-dual Brahma. The expression etat chitram may also be taken to mean this is like a picture. The analogies from art are given in order to show that the world is not to be regarded as a mere fact but as indicative of the highest value, which is Brahma. Even as a fact, it has its basis in Brahman. Brahma is the canvas whereon the world picture is painted. The reality of the cosmos is the reality of the individual as well. In the heart manifests itself as I, the self. It is itself called the heart because it is the center of all things. It is said to dance in the heart because it is the principle of delight as well as the dynamism that moves all things. Arunachala, the unmoving ground of the universe, is the same as Nataraja, the king of dance, who dances in the hall of the heart, Ether Chidambaram. Verse number 3. He who inquires whence arises the I thought with a mind that is pure turned inward and realizes his own nature becomes quiescent in thee, O Arunachala, as a river in the ocean. Here the path of self-inquiry is set forth. The technique consists in tracking the I thought to its source. The I thought is the first of all thoughts to arise. Where from does it come? This has to be discovered naturally by employing the mind, which is itself of the nature of thought. But it is only that mind that is pure and inward turned that can accomplish this task. When the mind is impure and out turned, it gets distracted, dissipated, and lost in the objects of sense. It has to turn away from its mad pursuit of the external in order to know the truth and find peace. This it can do only when it is pure. When the pure mind turns within and inquires into the origin of the I thought, It discovers that this I is the pseudo self. With this discovery, all thoughts disappear and the true self alone remains. The ego commits suicide and becomes one with the self, that is Arunachala. This is compared to the river joining the sea and losing itself in it. The Mundaka Upanishad declares, as the flowing rivers disappear in the ocean, leaving name and form, so the wise one freed from name and form goes into the divine person higher than the high. Verse number 4. Rejecting the external objects with the breath and mind controlled and meditating on thee within, the yogi beholds the light, O Arunachala, and finds his delight in thee, or this is thy glory. Here is outlined the way to yoga, which is the path of meditation, dhyana. Usually the mind flows out through the sense organs towards the objects in order to enjoy them. It wrongly imagines that its delight lies in the objects. By dissipating itself away, it only comes to grief. But being under the spell of ignorance, it fails to learn the lesson. When it is disappointed with one object, it jumps on to another. Yoga is the return process of the mind. It is controlling the mind. Chittavirti Nirodha, by making it turn inward. Breath control is practiced as an aid to mind control. Disciplining the body and regulating the breath help in the taming of the mind. When the mind is made one-pointed and fixed on the self or God, one finds peace and joy within. Eventually, the yogi realizes God. God is seen in the form of light, not the physical light, but the pure consciousness or awareness. The light that is Arunachala is the Supreme Spirit. Its splendor has no parallel. The greatness is unequaled. Seeing this light is being it. The yogi's individuality is dissolved, and there is the allness alone, which is bliss. Verse number 5, or hymen number 5. With the mind offered unto thee, seeing thee, and seeing all as of thy form, he who worships thee with constant love conquers, being immersed in thee that art bliss, O Arunachala. In the last verse, the path of devotion and also the way of disinterested works by implication are set forth. The essence of devotion consists in the total dedication of the individual soul to service of God. Bhakti may begin by offering external things such as flowers and fruits to the deity, but when it matures, what is offered is the mind, the heart. This is the devotee will be able to do only when he sees God everywhere and everything as an expression of God. He will then serve God in everything, which is the kernel of Karma Yoga. Through such service, the devotee's God love becomes intense and undivided, and eventually he gains victory over all that is finite, inert, and painful. He finds that his individuality has dissolved, and that there is only the limitless sea of bliss, which is Brahma. So, this is Pancharatnam, 5 hymns on Arunachala. Here ends the video. Thank you for watching and listening this video. Thank you, my dear friends. Please subscribe my channel. Okay. Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala Shiva, Arunachala.